Welcome, everybody. Today we have a very unique and exciting topic to talk about, something that is an issue in unique instances, and it's something that, from everything I've seen, there's not really another solution on the market for this. So, Jared, why don't you show them what we got?
Yeah, so we've got a console step box or a Helm Riser. When I first started working here, I actually had a couple friends make some suggestions. They're avid boaters, and my neighbor Jeff actually mentioned that he had an older Sea Pro that was a walk around, and it had pretty high bow rise on it. And one of the things that he built initially was a box, right, to put in front of his console or the back of his console, right at the helm, to help him kind of get up a little bit higher to be able to see over the console, see over the bow of the boat when you're trying to get up onto plane. Really good idea, but again, not practical, right? It was made out of wood. He'd constantly be replacing. I think over the course of 3 to 5 years, he'd built 3 different boxes. So, it was something. We had a couple customers reach out to us and built a few that we saw that, look, there is a need out there for this in the market. You have an experience that you mentioned.
The first response is to think that this is for uniquely short people, and certainly, they're more likely to have this issue. But, I'm 6 foot, right? By no means tall, by no means short. And I used to go out on an Everglades 350. It was a family friend's boat, and it was challenging when you're getting up on plane to see over. I mean, to the point that it was almost scary. You'd get going, and you're going, God, I really hope no one's in front of me. So I could have certainly used something like this on our boat. So I think there's probably more. It's probably more applicable on the bigger boat side, but I think it's probably more applicable than people might think.
Absolutely. So, where we've gone ahead and taken this and kind of brought it to where it's something that's going to last out there for years in the marine environment, but also give you a little bit of relief. So, we'll walk through the construction of the actual box. This is 3/4 inch starboard. You can see that we've gone through here and put some ribs in the bottom of it, or stringers for structure. Also, you'll see here along this side, I don't know if you can see close on the camera, but we've slotted it with, I think, one of our engineers, Marcel, calls it a whipple to be able to drain. So there's no standing or pooling water underneath the box.
So water can run completely through it.
All the way down, yep.
Yeah.
So the other thing we've done is we've put some thicker, like dual density helm pad on top of it to give you a little bit of relief when you're standing in front of the console all day long. Use some powder coated screws, you can see with the construction here, which gives it a nice sleek finish. Again, just a really, really good option to help give you a little bit more height behind the console. We'll go into how the installation works. Let's go through, if you want to switch over to the website and maybe take a look at how this works. Again, we build them custom, so let's take a look at that.
Awesome. So yeah, the way that they're ordered online, it's a very simple calculator. If you're familiar at all with any of our other calculators like cut to size starboard or doors, this is even more simple than that. You really have 2 dimensions, right? Your length and width. This is your X and your Y, and you're able to populate that. Let's say in this case someone wants maybe let's say a 15-inch by a 36-inch. And it says the minimum dimensions for the product are 20 by 10. So the longer dimension needs to be up front. So let's switch it, 36 by 15. And now we get a price. Then we have the drop-down option for height. Now we limit it in 1-inch increments from 2-inch to 6 inches. If you need something taller than that, you can give us a call. When we set up the calculator, we try to figure out what we thought the most practical height would be, to not inflate the cost, because the height there doesn't affect the cost. The cost for a 2-inch versus a 6-inch, it's all priced in, it's the same. If you needed it much larger than that, we can certainly do it, but we would need you to call in to discuss that. So let's select, let's say, a 4-inch piece, and you got your color options, of course. And then you got your pad color. So you might do a white, and in this case we did a gray on black pad.
Right.
It's that simple. And you have a fully custom step pad, that's sized to fit your area.
Yeah. If you want to switch back, we'll kind of talk about installation.
Sure.
I think something that's pretty unique. So if I can drag this out of the way here real quick, and you'll see what we do is we include with it this ABS template, right? So you'll see with this ABS template, you get a little bit closer here, you'll see there's some holes that are pre-drilled into this ABS template. What that's nice is this is the footprint of the actual box. So
specifically the inside of the box.
Correct.
Sure.
So you'll set that where you want, in front of the console or in front of the helm. you'll get everything ready, and these are your drill marks to go ahead and add these chocks. So
I might have misspoke.
Okay.
I think you're right. It is the footprint of the box.
Of the
Let's set it
actual
on it
box.
and make sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think the overall outside, put it on the bottom because I think the top overhangs. So I think this should sit directly. Yeah, that's perfect. That should sit directly on it and match.
It is.
Exactly.
It's the full footprint.
So you can set that down and see exactly where it sits.
Right.
So
there is a little bit of a lip on the top of the box as well. It overhangs. So again, you'll drop this in. You'll see exactly where that footprint's going to sit behind the console. And then each of these, it includes 4 chocks for each of the corners. You'll see that those holes will line up. Those are the installation holes where we, again, provide you some lag bolts to be able to, or screws to be able to lag this down into the hull of the boat. And then at that point, you now have these chocks that are sitting proud on the deck of the boat, right? And so you can take this box and drop directly over the top of that chalk once you remove the template. And now you have holes where you can screw through the side of the box. You'll see right here, there's a couple different holes, and those will go directly back into the pre-drilled holes in the chalk with powder-coated screws. So a very nice, clean finish. It's secure to the boat with minimal holes into the boat. We really think it's a pretty tight installation, very sleek finish. Does really well.
So you set your template down where it goes. Just to rehash, you set your template down where it goes. You make sure that it fits and everything looks good.
Mark off the holes.
Drill out your pilot holes. Right, then you take it off, then you mount your 4 cleats,
right.
Then it should fit perfectly right over it, and then you screw through the side with powder-coated screws so that it's permanently mounted.
And that's it.
Boom. And if you ever need to take it off, you could unscrew from the side
right.
and lift it off.
Which is nice. A lot of different consoles, you'll have like an access plate there.
Sure.
That goes down to the fuel system or to the bilge. So being able to take this off and not have to have holes going in and out of the deck of the boat to strip it out is a really good option.
Sure. Cool. All right, so let's talk about some of the customization options that you could do. Let's actually switch back over and we'll show you some cool, let's see, I'm having some technical difficulties. All right, we're good to go here. So these are some customers who have taken it to the next level. Now these are challenging because it's a more complicated stuff to like set a default pricing for, because none of these sizes would necessarily be applicable to your boat or this boat or that, but they show you kind of some of the capabilities to take this to the next level. So let's look at this drawing right here. So you can see this customer had enough height that they thought this would be usable space, so they wanted to actually hinge the lid and put it on gas shocks so that they could have some additional storage space underneath their step there. And from everything we heard from this customer, it turned out really nice. You can see it's very functional. They're removable dividers, so they're all segmented. I'm not totally sure what you're putting down there.
Maybe some like lead weights, right? I think that may be a little bit noisy, but
potentially,
it's again a dividable space that you can throw a couple different things that maybe aren't accessed as regularly in the boat.
And maybe some plano trays even might be more practical. Like you said, the lead weights might be moving a lot right under your feet. But here is the picture of that part before it left our facility. And you can see it turned out really nice. There's a couple of grabber latches down here to hold it shut tight. You can see we put a relief for the to be able to get up under the lid with your hand and be able to open it. And we've got your 2 gas shocks and your pano hinge. So that turned out really nice. Here's some other zoomed in pictures of the different components. And you can see we actually did some additional mills here. So he had flexibility with where he located the horizontal dividers across it. And here is the piece. All the pictures we've had so far show the gray on black, but here's an example of the white on gray.
Looks sharp.
Looks really sharp. And then we have derivatives of that we've done for other customers, in this case where you can see it's hinging on the longer dimension. Same kind of deal there where we've got some internal dividers. It looks like this lid overhung enough in the front that we didn't have to do any relief. But yeah.
A ½ inch to grab and pull up.
Sure. And then this last one is interesting. I wasn't familiar with this until I was prepping for this segment here. But this one actually opens in both dimensions. So it opens from the right and from the left. So you've got these smaller segments that you can drop stuff into. So if you really wanted to go all out and go, hey, I want this, I want this riser, but I also want to make it functional, know that we have the option to do that. The pricing would be kind of a case-by-case basis depending on how complex and how large, but we would love to work with you on that. So before we go, we've got a couple of questions. Let's see. Jeff is saying, how much weight can the Helm Riser hold? He's fat, very fat, is what he says. With the cross dividers that we've put in place with the ribs, I am very confident that 3/4 starboard, there's going to be 0 weight restrictions.
It's going to stop it from flexing, right? And again, with 3/4 inch starboard, like you said, you could go 3 bills easy and be able to be fine.
And I mean, realistically, you can look at those and go, that might even be a tiny bit of overkill. But
why not?
Yeah, it doesn't add that much cost, and with those dividers, it's going to hold.
Yep.
Sarah says, can you put a custom type of pad on top, such as something like C-Deck? Well, so by default, we supply it with the EVA foam, that's pre-cut to these dimensions. If somebody wanted to request this without the pad, we could certainly do that. They would need to reach out to the customer service team, at which point you can source whatever pad you prefer or put whatever other material you wanted on top of it, or if you just wanted it without it.
So that's a good question. Like if you think of like a lot of times people now, they've got like the collegiate teams that are on the boat, or branding of a boat, or the name of the boat that's in here. The only restriction you'd have is that if that Helm relief pad that you ordered from an outside vendor had size restrictions, right? You just need to be mindful of this. Let's say that pad is 16 by 34, and the Helm Riser that you needed to be bigger than that, or in some cases smaller. So you see, where we make this, we're actually able to cut this material to where there's just a little bit of trim around the outside of the pad. Again, that is a great question. Yes, we can do it. We'd be able to mill down to whatever size your pad is, as long as you're okay that if it was larger, you'd have a lot more starboard out here and less pad. Likewise, we probably wouldn't want to cut down your pad for you to be able to fit into the smaller size box.
And just to make sure everyone might be following this, but just to add additional clarity, on the top of the lid here, we are actually milling. Let's see if you can pull it up. Hopefully you can.
You
right?
can't. That's kind of what.
So going back to the whole idea of starboard, and starboard doesn't accept glue or adhesives well. That's 100% true, and that's very applicable in this case. What we've done to combat that is we've actually milled down pretty much exactly the outside shape of this pad. And we use some really good adhesive and stick it down. And the good thing is you can't get up under it to peel. If this was just stuck to the top of this, you'd be able to kind of get your fingernails up and pull it up, and constant heel hitting right here. Maybe it started to pull up, but we mill that down so that it's recessed and glued into place. And so far we've had really good success with it.
Absolutely.
So the idea of just taking your own starboard pad and sticking some any kind of EVA foam or pad, I would question how long it would stay.
Sure.
It probably last a little bit, but I think over time your heel and kids pulling it up, I know my kids will pull it up. All right, guys, if we don't have any other questions, this is one of the shorter episodes. It's very specific, unique. If you have this unique problem, this is the only thing that I've seen that solves it. Please let us know if you have any questions in the comments, but otherwise we really appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.